Hello, today we are going to hit part 13 and mess around with the bevel tool. There's a couple ways to bevel edges on your object, which what I mean by that is to take these original sharp edges and smooth them out so you don't have that there's that perfect angle on here. It's too sharp and it's just not realistic. So when you do smooth these out, you'll see the difference. And I'll put them up side by side here so we can see the difference between the two. Now the first way I want to show, I'm going to actually select this complex object here and go into the modifier tab here and add a bevel modifier, and you can see it created this nice mess. And we're gonna actually get a clearer view. In the object tab under display, I'm just going to select wire so it displays the wireframe of the object, and then in the properties panel over here we can make it even clearer by in the display tab as well, but all edges, and that will show you all the polygons there. And you can see this is pretty ugly for a bevel, so I'm going to go back to the modifier and I'm going to crank the width down to 0.005, and now you can see we got it cleaned up a bit. And you can see it acts on the whole object and every edge as well. And with this limit method set to none, it acts on the whole object, and you really don't have any other setting to change than the width. If I drag that, you can see the changes taking place there. And now if you want to, usually the angle selection works better for this modifier. You can see that cleaned it up pretty good there, but you still have messy and uneven bevel edges along here. So you can mess with the angle constraint here, and as you can see up like in this area here where it changes, you don't really have I don't know what to say, fluid control over the result, but it's I mean, this modifier is serviceable for simpler objects. As you can see, that doesn't look too horrible, but you still have uneven, weird edges there. And now that I'm going to undo all this here, remove that, and that's the bevel tool. Actually, let me show you. I'm going to put that bevel back on there. Under the weight tab, you can, in edit mode, with the edge select on, you can do just the single edge down here under mesh and edges, and then edge bevel weight, and as you drag your mouse you can see the change taking place. It's functional, but again, you're still, like with the rest of the bevel modifier selections, you're limited to just that one plane there. So it will give you a beveled edge, but you're limited to only the width, and not, say, subdivide. You could subdivide this to round it out a little more, but there is an easier way to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that there. And just going to take this for an example here up front. Now if you go into edit mode and select the edges that you want to bevel, I'll just select these two first, and if you hit Control B, it sets off the bevel tool, and you just move the mouse to change the width there. And you can see that the edges, the bevel itself is subdivided to give it a little rounder edge. And if you find your width, go ahead and left click, and then over here you can still mess with the offset and then the segments as well. So you could crank it up to get a really round edge, crank it down to 2 or 3 to give you a better option than just the single bevel. So I'll just try 2 and then smooth that object out. Add an edge split modifier, and you can see we still have some angles here, and we could probably just crank up the angle constraint here on the edge split and smooth that out. And you can see that's a little better than just a single edge bevel. And the cool thing is with this bevel tool, you can select pretty much every edge that you want to bevel and Control B, and just drag out your width, and then you can, whoops, cranked it up too high. And you can also hold the shift key down while you're dragging on the offset here to slow it down a bit, because it's really sensitive and you don't have to move the mouse that far to get a result. So you crank that and you set your segment, and there you go. You just beveled pretty much the whole object in one sweep, and you have a lot more control over what you're beveling, as opposed to doing the whole object or using the bevel modifiers, angle constraints, or the limit, the weight selections there, because they give a decent result, but just not a very consistent across the whole model. And selecting your individual edges works well with the Control B function here. So, like if I were to take this here, and I can select every edge on this thing, and then Control B, and oops, drag that out there, and crank the segments up, and you can see it creates a real nice even bevel. Everything's real nice and clean. Just smooth that object out. I forgot to select those edges, that's why that looks a little funky there. But you can see the difference between the sharp edges we have here and the nice smooth edges. It looks a little more realistic and not so much like a prop or something. And there's one other thing, a couple other things. You can select select this object back here. I'm going to turn off these edges. You can just select one edge, turn the modifier on, and it gives you nice clean bevel for just one portion. You have a lot of control with that, and I could select every edge around this whole object, front, back, and it doesn't give you any weird results. Except there is one thing I figured out here. I'm gonna go ahead and select, just say, these 3. Now this object, under Control A, I have not applied the rotation and scale to the object, so all the moving and shaping and everything I've done to it has kind of left the I don't know what to call it, the measurements and the scaling out of sync, I guess, with the modifiers, but you'll see what I mean here. It's kind of talking out of my ass a bit. I'm going to Control B and move this up, and you see this uneven bevel edge here. You know, it still looks okay, but I'm going to undo that. Go in object mode. I'm going to control A and apply the rotation and scale. And then go back with these edges selected and control B, and now you see we have a nice even bevel edge across there. And now do I have, let's see that front piece. I'm going to go ahead and actually render this out. And you can see we have a nice smooth bevel here as opposed to these sharp edges. Pull this out a little bit. Yeah, and I got the settings pretty low. It's still it's still chugging along here. And you can see up this top part here. Let's see, I want to move that out so we can get a good view here. Yeah, you can see the corner here has been rounded off real nice. And like this front portion here as well. And rather than these sharp, well, that you can't really see right in here, but you can see the difference. This sharp edge, and you can see it's been rounded off here, and it just looks a lot better, and a little more, I don't know, real, I guess, as much as a spaceship can be real. But yeah, these sharp edges, I mean, they're functional, but they look a lot better when they're beveled off. So you see that the control B to bevel your edges. In edit mode, select whatever edges you want to bevel. And in that case, I already beveled one edge, so you're going to get some weird stuff there. But yeah, just select your edges and control B, and you can bevel as much or as little as you need, and you have a lot of control, more so than the bevel modifier. But which is functional for real simple objects like a cube, you know, pyramid, something like that. But when you got complex stuff, that control B is just a wonderful addition to Blender now that they've got it working, because before the edge select and bevel tool was it was kind of crappy, but now it works real well and makes everything really easy for you. So that's about it for the bevel tool. You know, any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them, and thanks for watching.